The sun had barely risen over the city, casting a soft, golden hue across the sleek glass facade of Starlight Memorial Hospital. Inside, the halls buzzed with the energy of a new day. Doctors, nurses, and staff hustled with purpose, their crisp uniforms reflecting the hospital's reputation as one of the most elite healthcare facilities in the region. Patients waited in the well-furnished lobbies, flipping through glossy magazines or scrolling on their phones, while the air hummed with the faint beeping of monitors and distant chatter. At the heart of this carefully orchestrated environment was Victoria Grant, the hospital's formidable manager. Victoria's reputation preceded her, an embodiment of efficiency and discipline. She had a sharp eye for detail and a zero-tolerance policy for anything that might tarnish the hospital's image. With her tailored suit, perfectly styled hair, and stern demeanor, she ruled the hospital like a general commanding her troops. To her, appearances mattered as much as competence. After all, perception was everything. Victoria's morning began like any other, reviewing schedules, signing off on departmental updates, and ensuring that everything ran like clockwork. As she strode down the main corridor, clipboard in hand, her heels clicking against the polished floor, she paused to reprimand a junior nurse for wearing slightly wrinkled scrubs. "Presentation is key," she snapped, before moving on, leaving the nurse flustered and adjusting her attire. As she made her way to the lobby, she noticed something, or rather, someone, that made her frown. A man stood near the reception desk, looking out of place amidst the pristine setting. He was dressed in casual attire, jeans, a simple hoodie, and sneakers. His tousled hair and unassuming presence immediately set off alarm bells in Victoria's mind. From her vantage point, she assessed him quickly. No identification badge, no sign of being a patient or visitor in need of assistance. To her, he looked like a drifter, perhaps someone who had wandered in off the street. "Unacceptable," she muttered under her breath. She marched toward the man, her expression as cold as the hospital's air conditioning. Elon Musk, the unassuming man in question, was entirely unaware of the commotion his appearance was about to cause. He had arrived at the hospital early that morning, opting for a low-profile visit to assess the facility he had recently acquired. While his name was globally recognized, his casual attire and understated demeanor often led people to underestimate him, a reality he didn't mind. As he stood there, observing the staff and facilities, he couldn't help but feel a mix of curiosity and anticipation. Hospitals had always fascinated him, not just as places of healing, but as hubs of innovation and human connection. He was here to ensure that his vision for improving patient care and introducing cutting-edge medical technology would align with the hospital's ethos. But before he could take another step, a stern voice interrupted his thoughts. "Excuse me," Victoria said sharply, her tone laced with authority. "May I ask what you're doing here?" Elon turned to face her, offering a polite smile. "Good morning. I'm just..." "This is a professional establishment," Victoria cut him off, eyeing him disapprovingly. "We don't allow loitering. If you don't have a valid reason to be here, I'll have to ask you to leave." The corners of Elon's mouth twitched in amusement, though he kept his composure. "I assure you, I have a very valid reason to be here," he said calmly. Victoria's patience was wearing thin. "I don't think you understand," she said, her voice rising slightly. "We have standards to maintain. You can't simply walk in dressed like this." Her words hung in the air, and for a brief moment, the bustling lobby seemed to fall silent. Several staff members nearby glanced at the scene unfolding, their expressions a mix of curiosity and unease. Some recognized Musk immediately but hesitated to intervene, knowing Victoria's no-nonsense approach all too well. Elon, meanwhile, remained unfazed. "I appreciate your concern," he said, his tone measured, "but I'm not here to cause any trouble." Victoria crossed her arms, her expression firm. "Then I suggest you leave, or I'll have security escort you out." Elon sighed softly, a trace of disappointment flickering in his eyes. "Very well," he said, turning to leave. "I suppose we'll discuss this matter another time." As he walked away, Victoria felt a surge of satisfaction. Order restored, she thought. Little did she know, the man she had just dismissed so readily was about to turn her world upside down. Victoria stood rooted to her spot, watching the casually dressed man stride toward the exit with an infuriating calmness. She couldn't shake the nagging feeling that his lack of resistance made the encounter feel incomplete. As someone who was used to immediate compliance, this man's composed demeanor irked her more than any outright defiance would have. She turned to the receptionist, who seemed to be hiding a smile behind her monitor. "Who let him in?" Victoria demanded, her tone sharp. The receptionist glanced nervously toward the door. "I think he just walked in, ma'am," she stammered. "Unbelievable," Victoria muttered, shaking her head. Her hospital was not a public park where anyone could wander in unchecked. She would ensure that security tightened up their protocols after this incident. Just then, the man stopped near the automatic doors. For a moment, it seemed as though he was about to leave, but instead, he turned around and walked back toward the reception desk. Victoria's eyes narrowed as he approached her, his hands casually tucked into the pockets of his jeans. "Is there a problem?" he asked, his tone light yet unsettlingly composed. "Yes," Victoria replied curtly. "You shouldn't be here. I've asked you to leave once already." "I understand," the man said with a slight nod. "But before I go, I'd like to understand something. Is this how you treat everyone who walks through these doors?" Victoria felt her cheeks flush at the insinuation. "We treat our patients and visitors with the utmost respect," she snapped. "But we also have standards to maintain. And quite frankly, you don't look like you belong here." The man raised an eyebrow, the faintest hint of amusement playing across his face. "Appearances can be deceiving," he said, his voice calm, almost playful. Victoria's irritation bubbled over. "This is not a debate. If you're not a patient or here on official business, you need to leave. Now." Several staff members had paused their activities, subtly watching the exchange unfold. Some whispered among themselves, clearly recognizing the man. One young intern stepped forward as though to intervene but was held back by an older colleague, who shook their head and whispered something in their ear. Elon Musk, however, remained unperturbed. "I see," he said simply. "And who might I speak to if I wanted to discuss this hospital's policies?" "You're speaking to the manager," Victoria replied, her voice dripping with authority. "And I can assure you, our policies are designed to protect the integrity of this institution." Elon tilted his head slightly, studying her. "Integrity is important," he agreed. "But so is kindness. Don't you think?" Victoria blinked, momentarily taken aback. "Excuse me?" "Kindness," Elon repeated. "The way you treat people, regardless of how they look or what you assume about them. It says a lot about an organization, don't you think?" Her initial shock quickly gave way to indignation. "This hospital is not a charity. We have a reputation to uphold, and that includes ensuring that everyone here behaves and presents themselves appropriately. If that offends you, then perhaps you should reconsider where you choose to loiter next." Elon didn't react to the jab. Instead, he glanced around the bustling lobby, his eyes lingering on the staff and patients. "You've built something impressive here," he said, almost as if he were speaking to himself. "It's a shame that first impressions aren't part of your training." Victoria opened her mouth to retort, but Elon turned and began walking away before she could form the words. "Security," she called, her voice firm. Two guards appeared, their expressions cautious. "Escort him out," she instructed, gesturing toward Musk. The guards hesitated, glancing at each other, then back at Musk. "Ma'am, are you sure?" one of them asked hesitantly. "Do as I say," she snapped, her patience wearing thin. The guards moved toward Musk, who smiled faintly. "There's no need for that," he said calmly. "I'll leave." As he walked out of the hospital, the tension in the air slowly dissipated. Victoria crossed her arms, feeling both triumphant and irritated. But the moment wasn't over. As Musk exited the doors, he turned slightly, catching the eye of the receptionist who had been watching silently. He gave her a small, knowing smile and said, just loud enough for Victoria to hear, "I'll be back soon. Let's hope for a warmer welcome next time." With that, he disappeared into the busy street, leaving Victoria fuming and the staff whispering in hushed tones. Something about the entire exchange unsettled her, but she brushed it off. After all, she thought, what could a casually dressed drifter possibly do to disrupt her meticulously run hospital? As the hospital doors slid shut behind him, Elon Musk couldn't help but chuckle to himself. It wasn't the first time he'd encountered someone like Victoria, authoritarian, quick to judge, and utterly unaware of the bigger picture. But today wasn't about confrontation or ego, it was about something much larger. Elon had arrived at St. James Medical Center quietly, dressed in his signature casual style, jeans, sneakers, and a plain black hoodie. He preferred to keep a low profile during these visits, believing it allowed him to see things as they truly were. Today, his purpose was to review the progress of a new philanthropic initiative, the implementation of cutting-edge Tesla technology to revolutionize the hospital's energy systems. This facility was one of many Musk had selected for his pilot program, aiming to create sustainable, state-of-the-art medical facilities across the country. As he walked away from the hospital, his mind replayed the brief encounter with the manager. Her hostility and condescension weren't entirely surprising, but they underscored a deeper problem, one that extended beyond St. James. Leadership, he mused, wasn't just about efficiency or authority, it was about empathy, vision, and the ability to inspire those around you. 2 months earlier, Musk's foundation had selected St. James Medical Center for a significant upgrade. The hospital's outdated power grid and rising energy costs had been stifling its budget, leaving little room for improvements in patient care. Musk's team had proposed installing Tesla's solar roof systems and Powerwalls, which would reduce the hospital's reliance on traditional energy sources, lower its costs, and make it a beacon of sustainability. But Musk didn't just write checks and sign contracts. He believed in seeing things firsthand, understanding the challenges, meeting the people, and observing the impact of his projects on the ground. Today's visit was supposed to be unannounced, a chance to walk through the hospital and see how it functioned day to day. What he hadn't anticipated was being stopped in his tracks by someone like Victoria. Back inside the hospital, whispers were beginning to spread among the staff. A young intern, Olivia, was the first to put the pieces together. She had seen Musk's face on countless news articles and social media posts, and though he was dressed down today, there was no mistaking him. "Did you see that guy?" Olivia whispered to her colleague in the break room. "I swear that was Elon Musk." Her colleague, a nurse named Samuel, frowned. "The guy the manager just kicked out?" "Yes. I'm telling you, it was him," Olivia insisted. Samuel glanced nervously toward the manager's office. "If it was him, why didn't anyone say anything?" "Are you kidding?" Olivia replied. "You know how Victoria is. She'd probably fire us for interrupting her authority." Olivia wasn't the only one who had recognized Musk. Several patients in the waiting area had noticed him, too. An elderly man whispered to his wife, pointing subtly toward the door Musk had just exited through. "I think that was the Tesla guy," he murmured. Even the security guards, who had escorted Musk to the doors, exchanged uneasy glances as they returned to their post. "You think we just kicked out Elon Musk?" one of them whispered. "Don't even say that," the other replied, shaking his head. Meanwhile, Victoria sat in her office, a self-satisfied smile on her face. She prided herself on maintaining order, and today was no different. To her, the casually dressed man had been a potential threat to the hospital's professional image, a distraction she couldn't afford. She tapped her pen against her desk, jotting down notes for her weekly report. As far as she was concerned, she had handled the situation perfectly. The hospital's reputation remained intact, and the staff had witnessed her assertiveness in action. But there was a nagging thought she couldn't quite shake. The man's calm demeanor and cryptic parting words lingered in her mind. "I'll be back soon. Let's hope for a warmer welcome next time." Victoria brushed the thought aside. "Probably just some eccentric," she muttered to herself, turning her attention back to her paperwork. Outside the hospital, Musk was already making plans. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Hey, Mark," he said, addressing his assistant. "We need to have a meeting with the board at St. James. Sooner rather than later." "Yes, sir," Mark replied. "How did the visit go?" Musk laughed softly. "Let's just say the management could use a little re-evaluation." As he ended the call, Musk felt a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't just about technology or sustainability anymore. It was about creating an environment where empathy and innovation could thrive, starting with the leadership at St. James. The stage was set, and the next act would be one Victoria would never forget. Musk was coming back, not as a nameless stranger but as the hospital's new owner. And this time, appearances would be the last thing on anyone's mind. The following day, St. James Medical Center was abuzz with activity. Word had spread overnight that the man Victoria had unceremoniously kicked out might have been none other than Elon Musk. The whispers grew louder, fueled by internet searches and staff members piecing together clues. Still, no one dared to approach Victoria about it. Victoria herself remained skeptical. Elon Musk? Here. The idea was absurd to her. Why would a billionaire visit her hospital, and dressed like that, no less? She brushed off the rumors, chalking them up to overactive imaginations. That morning, Victoria settled into her office as usual, scanning through emails and preparing for a routine administrative meeting. The knock on her door was the first sign that the day would be anything but routine. "Ms. Victoria, you're needed in the main conference room," her assistant said, looking unusually nervous. "Now. I have a meeting in 20 minutes, Victoria replied curtly. "It's urgent," the assistant said, glancing away. Victoria sighed, grabbed her tablet, and made her way to the conference room. As she entered, the sight before her stopped her in her tracks. The room was filled with hospital board members, senior staff, and a group of people Victoria didn't recognize, dressed in sharp suits and holding sleek briefcases. At the head of the table stood the man she had dismissed the day before, now impeccably dressed in a tailored suit. His presence commanded the room. "Elon Musk," one of the board members said, standing to shake his hand. "It's an honor to have you here." Victoria froze. The words hit her like a freight train. She felt the blood drain from her face as her worst fears materialized. Musk turned toward her, a polite but knowing smile on his face. "Good morning, Ms. Victoria," he said evenly, his tone calm but unmistakably authoritative. I didn't realize," she stammered, her usually confident demeanor crumbling. Musk gestured for her to take a seat. "No need for formalities," he said. "Let's get started." As the meeting began, Musk introduced his team and outlined the purpose of his visit. He explained his vision for St. James Medical Center, detailing plans to implement Tesla's energy solutions and expand funding for advanced medical technologies. The room listened in rapt attention, marveling at the scope of his plans. Victoria, however, could barely process what she was hearing. Her mind kept replaying the events of the previous day, the way she had spoken to him, the assumptions she had made. The realization of her mistake weighed heavily on her. When Musk finished his presentation, he turned his attention to the staff seated around the table. "Before we move forward, I want to address something important," he said, his voice calm but firm. His eyes briefly met Victoria's before sweeping across the room. "Yesterday, I visited this hospital unannounced, dressed casually," Musk began. "It was a test of sorts, to see how I might be treated as an ordinary person. Unfortunately, my experience highlighted an issue that goes beyond this hospital. it's a reminder of how quick we can be to judge others based on appearances. Victoria sank lower into her chair, her heart pounding. Musk's words weren't accusatory but instructive. One of the core principles I've always believed in, he continued, is that innovation and progress require empathy. Every patient, staff member, and visitor here deserves to be treated with respect and dignity, regardless of how they look or what they wear. The room was silent. Staff members exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of admiration for Musk and discomfort over what had transpired. Musk then addressed Victoria directly, though his tone remained professional. Ms. Victoria, as a leader, you play a vital role in setting the tone for this hospital. Yesterday's interaction was a learning moment, not just for you, but for all of us. Victoria nodded, her face flushed with embarrassment. Mr. Musk, I deeply regret my actions. I misjudged you, and I'm truly sorry, she said, her voice trembling. Musk acknowledged her apology with a nod. Thank you. Growth comes from recognizing our mistakes and making a conscious effort to improve. That's all I ask of anyone. The meeting ended with a renewed sense of purpose among the staff. Musk's words had struck a chord, inspiring reflection and a collective commitment to fostering a more inclusive and compassionate environment. Victoria, though humbled, felt a newfound determination to prove herself. As the staff filed out of the conference room, she approached Musk hesitantly. Mr. Musk, she said softly, thank you for your grace. I promise to do better. Musk smiled warmly. I believe you will, he replied. Leadership isn't about being perfect, it's about being willing to learn. As he left the hospital that day, Musk knew his message had resonated. The changes he planned for St. James weren't just about technology or energy, they were about building a culture where empathy and innovation could thrive side by side. After the confrontation with Elon Musk and his calm but firm address in the conference room, Victoria retreated to her office, closing the door behind her with a deep sigh. The walls of her usually organized and authoritative world seemed to close in on her. Sitting at her desk, she replayed the events of the last 2 days in her mind, the casual dismissal of a man she deemed unimportant, her sharp words, and the moment she realized the magnitude of her mistake. How could she, a seasoned professional with years of experience managing one of the city's most prestigious hospitals, have been so blind? So arrogant? Her reflection shifted inward. She recognized a pattern she had long ignored, a tendency to judge people hastily, to prioritize efficiency over empathy, and to enforce rules without considering their human impact. It wasn't the first time her strict demeanor had rubbed someone the wrong way, but this time the consequences had been monumental. As the hours passed, regret gave way to resolve. This is a wake-up call, she thought. I can either let this define me or change because of it. The next day, Victoria was summoned to a private meeting with Musk. She walked into the room with trepidation, unsure of what to expect. Musk was seated at the head of the table, his demeanor calm as always. Ms. Victoria, he began, gesturing for her to sit, I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me. Victoria sat, her hands folded nervously in her lap. Mr. Musk, before you say anything, I want to apologize again. My actions were inexcusable, and I fully understand if you decide to replace me. Musk studied her for a moment, his expression thoughtful. I've always believed in the power of second chances, he said finally. Mistakes happen, but what matters is how we choose to grow from them. I see potential in you, Victoria, but things will need to change. Victoria nodded eagerly. I'm ready to change, Mr. Musk. I don't want to be the kind of leader who judges or dismisses others. Please, tell me how I can improve. Musk leaned forward. First, I want you to undergo leadership training focused on empathy and interpersonal skills. This hospital is more than just a facility, it's a community, and its leader needs to reflect that. Second, I expect you to take part in volunteer programs alongside your staff, working directly with patients to understand their struggles and needs. Victoria's eyes widened at the conditions, but she nodded resolutely. "I'll do it. Whatever it takes." Musk smiled. "Good. I believe you'll find that leading with kindness doesn't diminish authority, it enhances it." The weeks that followed marked a significant transformation in Victoria's approach to leadership. The training sessions were challenging, forcing her to confront biases and habits she had cultivated over years. But they also opened her eyes to the power of compassion in fostering a positive work environment. Participating in volunteer programs was an even more humbling experience. She spent hours assisting patients, listening to their stories, and understanding their fears and frustrations. For the first time in years, she wasn't focused on charts or schedules but on people. Her staff noticed the change. The once rigid and intimidating hospital manager now greeted them with genuine warmth, asked about their well-being, and even sought their input on decisions. One day, Victoria found herself assisting an elderly patient struggling to navigate their insurance paperwork. As she patiently explained the forms, the patient looked up at her with tears in their eyes. "Thank you, dear," the patient said. "You're so kind. This hospital is lucky to have you." The words struck a chord deep within her. This was the leader she wanted to be, not just efficient but compassionate. By the time Musk returned for a follow-up visit, the atmosphere at St. James Medical Center had shifted noticeably. Staff morale was higher, patients felt more valued, and Victoria's transformation was evident to all. Musk observed her interactions from a distance, smiling as he saw her assist a nurse carrying supplies and later stop to chat with a patient in the hallway. When they finally met in his office, Musk extended his hand. "Well done, Ms. Victoria," he said. "I knew you had it in you." Victoria shook his hand firmly, a newfound confidence in her posture. "Thank you for giving me the chance to prove it," she replied. As Musk departed, he knew his decision to offer Victoria a second chance had been the right one. Not only had she grown, but she had also inspired a ripple effect throughout the hospital. Compassion, it seemed, was contagious, and St. James Medical Center was thriving because of it. Elon Musk's influence over St. James Medical Center extended far beyond the dramatic encounter with the hospital manager. Once firmly established as the new owner and benefactor, Musk unveiled a bold vision for transforming the institution. In a town hall meeting with the hospital's staff, he laid out his plans. "St. James isn't just a hospital, it's a beacon for innovation and care," he began. "We will implement advanced medical technologies that not only improve efficiency but also prioritize patient experience." Among his initiatives was the introduction of AI-powered diagnostic tools designed to reduce human error and speed up treatment decisions. He also committed to installing robotic surgery systems, allowing for precision procedures with quicker recovery times. But Musk's vision wasn't limited to technology. He launched a patient care initiative called Healing Hands, aimed at providing free or subsidized healthcare to underprivileged members of the community. The program also included mental health counseling, an area often neglected in hospitals but one Musk deemed essential for holistic care. "Healthcare should be about accessibility, not privilege," Musk said during the announcement. "Everyone deserves dignity when they're at their most vulnerable." The ripple effects of Musk's leadership were felt almost immediately within the hospital's culture. He emphasized collaboration over hierarchy, encouraging staff at all levels to voice their ideas and concerns. Regular team-building workshops and open forums became part of the hospital routine, breaking down barriers between doctors, nurses, administrators, and support staff. Victoria, the hospital manager, played a significant role in this cultural shift. Once known for her strict and rigid demeanor, she became a champion of Musk's inclusive philosophy. Staff began to see her not as an enforcer but as a mentor, someone who listened and valued their input. In one instance, a janitor proposed a reorganization of supply closets to improve efficiency, a suggestion that was not only implemented but also publicly praised by Musk during a staff meeting. "Great ideas can come from anywhere," Musk said, "and it's our job as leaders to nurture them." Patients, too, felt the difference. Nurses spent more time interacting with them, understanding their concerns beyond the medical charts. The hospital lobby, once cold and clinical, was transformed into a welcoming space with warm lighting, comfortable seating, and a dedicated area for children. The changes at St. James didn't go unnoticed by the community. News of Musk's hands-on involvement and his commitment to modernizing the hospital spread quickly. Local newspapers and online platforms buzzed with admiration. "Never thought I'd see Elon Musk walking the halls of our hospital," one nurse told a reporter. But what's more surprising is how much he genuinely cares about every single person here. Patients who had benefited from the Healing Hands initiative shared their gratitude on social media. One post, featuring a photo of Musk talking with a group of children in the pediatric ward, went viral with the caption, "Not just a billionaire, but a man with a heart. Thank you, Elon Musk, for giving hope to those who need it most." The community began rallying around the hospital, donating time and resources to support its initiatives. Local businesses partnered with St. James to sponsor events, while volunteers signed up to assist with patient care programs. At a town gathering, an elderly resident summed up the sentiment, "This hospital used to feel like a place you wanted to avoid. Now, it's a symbol of hope for our town. And it's all thanks to Musk's vision and humility." Under Musk's guidance, St. James Medical Center became a model for other institutions to follow, blending cutting-edge innovation with compassionate care. The hospital not only healed patients but also inspired a community, proving that true leadership isn't about wealth or power, it's about making a meaningful difference. The turning point for Victoria, the hospital manager, came during an emergency that shook the entire hospital. A young girl, no older than 8, was rushed into the emergency room after a severe car accident. Her family, distraught and desperate, followed behind, pleading for help. Despite the chaos, Victoria stepped forward. Previously known for her rigid adherence to rules, she now demonstrated a newfound empathy. She personally guided the family to a waiting area, reassuring them with a calm, steady demeanor. "We'll do everything we can," she said, her voice carrying a warmth that surprised even herself. When complications arose, and the overwhelmed ER staff hesitated, Victoria stepped in. She quickly organized resources, reached out to specialists, and ensured the family was kept informed. Her actions weren't driven by protocol but by genuine care for both the child and her family. As the hours passed, Victoria remained by the family's side, offering updates and comforting words. She coordinated with nurses and doctors to ensure every effort was made to save the young girl. By the end of the night, the child was stable, and the family expressed their heartfelt gratitude, tears of relief streaming down their faces. For Victoria, it was a moment of clarity. Her past mistakes flashed before her eyes, but this time, she felt a sense of redemption. She had finally prioritized humanity over procedure. Elon Musk, who happened to be at the hospital reviewing new projects that day, witnessed the entire incident. He observed Victoria's transformation, the way she took charge with compassion and grace. After the situation stabilized, Musk approached her as she stood in the hallway, exhausted but content. "That was remarkable," Musk said, his voice sincere. "You handled that with empathy and leadership. This is exactly the kind of culture I hope to foster here." Victoria looked at him, her expression a mixture of relief and gratitude. "I just wanted to make sure they didn't feel alone in this," she said quietly. Musk nodded. "You've come a long way, Victoria. Everyone deserves a second chance, but it's what you do with it that matters. Today, you showed what true leadership looks like." The exchange was brief but powerful. For Victoria, Musk's words carried weight, a validation of her efforts to change and a recognition that she was no longer defined by her past actions. News of the incident spread throughout the hospital, inspiring staff members. They saw their once intimidating manager in a new light, a leader who could be both strong and compassionate. The event became a symbol of the hospital's transformation under Musk's ownership. In that moment, St. James wasn't just a hospital, it was a place of second chances, not only for patients but for those who worked there. And for Victoria, it was the culmination of her journey, a redemption that she would carry with her as she continued to lead with kindness and integrity. Under Elon Musk's visionary ownership, St. James Hospital underwent a remarkable transformation. The sterile, hierarchical atmosphere that once defined the institution gave way to a warm and inclusive culture. Advanced technologies, like AI-driven diagnostics and cutting-edge surgical equipment, were introduced, revolutionizing patient care. Musk's philanthropic efforts ensured that underserved members of the community received high-quality medical treatment, regardless of their financial situation. Staff morale soared as Musk fostered an environment of collaboration and respect. Regular training sessions emphasized empathy in interpersonal communication, creating a team of compassionate professionals. The changes inspired employees to approach their work with renewed dedication, and patients felt the difference. The hospital became a symbol of hope and progress for the entire community. Victoria, now a respected and empathetic leader, played a vital role in this renaissance. Her transformation resonated throughout the hospital, serving as a powerful example of the impact personal growth could have on an organization. Staff members admired her for her humility and genuine care, qualities that had once seemed unimaginable. Elon Musk's unassuming presence remained a constant reminder of his core philosophy, valuing people over appearances. Stories of his casual visit and the lessons it brought continued to circulate, becoming a cherished part of the hospital's legacy. The moment when a simple misunderstanding turned into an opportunity for change embodied the principles Musk championed: compassion, second chances, and humility. As the hospital thrived, the community took notice. News outlets shared the story of St. James' transformation, spotlighting Musk's leadership and the institution's renewed commitment to excellence. Patients, employees, and local residents spoke of the hospital as a beacon of innovation and humanity. In the final scene, Musk walked through the bustling corridors of the hospital, now filled with smiling staff and grateful patients. He paused by a plaque near the entrance, inscribed with a simple yet profound message. Treat every person with dignity, for you never know their story or potential. It was a sentiment that had reshaped the hospital and left a lasting impression on everyone who entered its doors. St. James Hospital was no longer just a medical facility, it was a testament to the power of humility, compassion, and the belief that even the smallest acts of kindness could create ripples of change.